Welcome to the Debrief. Back by popular demand, I'm here with The Hill's editor-in-chief, our special guest, Bob Cusack. Bob, thanks for joining us.
Oh, good to be back. You know, the pandemic threw a curve into this, but it's great to talk about the issues of the day.
Wonderful. Well, we like having everybody back in studio, put the pandemic behind us, and
exactly.
Talk about some headlines. So let's get right into it. A class action lawsuit has been filed against Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, stemming from the organization of 2 flights of migrants to Martha's Vineyard last week, something we've been discussing a lot on Rising as well. So what do you make of it?
Well, this is a fascinating issue. It's a relatively new issue, and of course, this is going to be fought out where? In the courts.
Yes.
And I think, but it's also 2024, right? I mean, here we got DeSantis is thinking about running. He's got to worry about his reelection this fall, but he should be in okay shape. Abbott is thinking about running. Obviously, Biden says he's going to run, at least for now. So I think that this is the beginning of the 2024 race, and this kind of move for DeSantis works with the base. We'll see how polls show with independents and if it helps him or hurts him in Florida. But without a doubt, his profile is getting raised yet again.
It is. And, you know, you could see how, on one hand, I could see how this could be an off-putting stunt for some people, although when you look at polling, it finds that immigration is an issue that the country tends to trust the GOP on. It's one of their winning issues, so it's not surprising to see them go further on this issue than maybe they can on other things.
And Robby, as you know, we're in the heat of the election cycle. The nation's immigration system is broken, and Congress has been unable to fix it. So we're going to see these kind of problems. You know, there were attempts in the past of a pathway to citizenship with a lot of border money, whether it's a wall or basically, and that just didn't make it across the finish line. Is that going to be something maybe the new Congress will do? Well, there'll be talk about it, but I doubt it.
I doubt it too. Yeah. They're very content to let it remain broken and just kind of pontificate about the problem.
But it's interesting if Democrats, especially with this latest news of DeSantis, if they're going to spend more money for Charlie Crist in Florida. Maybe not to beat DeSantis, because that's a tall order, but at least to keep it close, so he doesn't have that momentum. And as you know, he has picked up in the polls against Donald Trump in a Republican primary. Those are the 2, I think, leading contenders for the Republican nomination right now.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about politics. So The Hill also has some great reporting on why Democrats are trying to make the midterms a referendum on Donald Trump and the GOP, which I think does make sense and is really only a strategy available to them because Donald Trump will not exit the headlines, to some extent dragged back into the headlines by what's happening at Mar-a-Lago and other things, but he wants the spotlight. He has never given any indication he will not seek re-election once again.
Well, listen, I mean, the relationship between Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump is one great for journalists. They're great for stories because they're never going to make up. And you know, Mitch McConnell is shaking his head every time Trump is making headlines, whether it's investigations by Democrats looking into him, and there are plenty of those, but also Trump. You know, I'm actually surprised he hasn't announced yet he's going to run for president. He's been chomping at the bit from what we hear, but he's going to wait probably until after the election. He called me a few months ago to complain about a story, and he certainly indicated he's running again.
Fascinating. If you had asked me a year ago, will Trump be the 2024 Republican contender, I would have said 100% yes. In fact, I think I made a bet a year ago.
There you go.
DeSantis has come on very strong since then. He clearly has a lot of support, kind of unified support among conservative media, conservative, all of your kind of anti-Trump people obviously prefer DeSantis, but then a significant number of people who like Trump just fine prefer DeSantis. So my thinking is that it will come down to, will the base accept? If they like them both, DeSantis actually has then a lot of other advantages. If ultimately the base says, no, we still want Trump, well, he's going to be out of luck.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of Republicans who they still like Trump. They think he's funny and entertaining, but they also recognize the baggage, and all these investigations have hurt him, and that's where DeSantis has still got a while to go to close the gap, but he's been closing the gap, and I think he's one to watch. And Democrats have to be very concerned about, I think, a DeSantis-Biden matchup. You know, some Democrats think, well, if it's Biden and Trump, maybe Biden can take him down. He already beat him once. But DeSantis is different. And as we know, Biden's up there. His age came up in the 60 Minutes interview. He's going to turn 80 later this year. So I think 2024 is just going to be fascinating. I agree with you. I would say 3 months ago, I thought Trump is going to be the nominee. I'm not so sure anymore.
It'll be a fight, to be clear. I don't think either will have an easy time of it. I've said I think the nearest parallel could be, at this point, it's still a ways off, things could change, is the kind of Hillary versus Obama in 2008, which was really, it was really a battle, and it went down to it. They both wanted it. They had a lot of support.
And I know it's early, but do you see a lot of candidates getting in?
I think no, which is it's hard to imagine because there's so much incentive just to get in, as we saw last time. Even if you lose, you've catapulted yourself to a larger profile, and that's what so many of the other people did last time. Now it seems like there might be a more, well, no one wants to, a lot of people just don't want to run against Trump again because they don't want to seem like they're, again, he has so much popularity in the party, right? But if someone is going to, DeSantis, I don't think they want to risk hurting him or splintering the anti-Trump vote, but there's individual incentive to do it. So, what do you think?
The Trump allies, I think, are fascinating because a while back I didn't think Mike Pence was going to run. I do think he's going to run. I think it's going to be tough for Mike Pence.
Very tough.
Very tough. And there are others. Mike Pompeo, obviously a Trump ally. Is he going to run? I think he will. But others like Nikki Haley have said no. So we'll see. But as you know, in 2016, Trump didn't need 50 to 60% in these primaries. There's so many candidates.
30.
Yeah, 30. And maybe
that
could happen again. We'll see.
Yeah, that will be very interesting. All right, we have a totally different story, switching topics a little bit. So North Korea is rejecting U.S. intelligence allegations that they actually are supplying weapons to Russia. Very interesting report, very sternly worded statement from the North Korea. They did not like being smeared, in their words, as having done this, although I presume the intelligence report is accurate. You can't, there's not a guarantee. Sometimes our intelligence reports are wrong.
They've been wrong in the past.
We have been wrong in the past.
But it's interesting to see Russia is under so much pressure. Obviously, this week, Putin bringing up a draft again, and that's caused some, obviously, concern within Russia and people fleeing Russia. But what's fascinating to see is that I'm sure the U.S. intelligence agencies are looking at, well, China recently admonished Russia for the war in Ukraine. India did too, which has been more neutral than the United States wanted. So now I'm sure the United States is like, well, where are they going to go next? Where are they going to get help? And maybe it is North Korea. But this is a real problem for the world because Putin is not one to back down. And the only way this war ends is if there's some way Putin can save face. And that's as you know, that's a big argument. Should there be negotiations? Should Ukraine give up anything? Some diplomats say to end the war. Other diplomats say no, Putin's a war criminal. Don't give him anything. So unfortunately, I think this war is going to be going on for a while. Yeah,
it was just so unfortunate because the lives at stake, obviously, the death toll on the Russian side as well. People being conscripted for a cause they probably barely understand if they even support, and then our economy shattered globally. The food prices from having to deal with this. So there's so much desire to bring it to a close, which will, as you said, need to be a face-saving move for Russia in some sense.
And that I don't see. But you're right. Whether it's energy costs around the globe, the threat of nuclear weapons, it's really troubling.
It's interesting, though, they turned to North Korea, which is actually famously, a lot of people don't know, an extremely militarized society. We know very little about what goes on in North Korea, but I think they have like the largest standing army per capita, per person.
But it's so secretive, we don't know a lot of those details.
No, fascinating. All right, well, thank you, Bob, so much for joining us for the debrief, and we will see you all next time.